Good morning, SMF MMTs. It's a Sunday morning, and it's always the best day of the week and whatnot for us anyway. It gives us time to really look at the fear indicator called the VXN daily chart. Today's date's 3/27 of 2011. Now, like we did on the Nasdaq comp, we put there for our MMTs to understand that when we had gapped up here, the Nasdaq had got gapped down on the daily just to invert. And when we started holding that gap here, that delta ratio in the MMT platform on this particular one, is that we had set up a base. And look at the amount of green bars here. Look at the amount of up bars here. Look at these green bars here during this time frame. Then the last really big one is where that fear exasperated itself. And right here, MMTs, when this was falling, we were putting the day that this had gap closed right here. This is when we were putting a bottom in on the Nasdaq comp. And as we went down 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days to the 6th day, we had a 5-day rally in the Nasdaq comp to the upside. And equities came off the bottom of the Nasdaq comp and the leadership and also followed through with it. How nice that was. Then, now that we're getting into less fear area, is in order for the Nasdaq to keep going, MMTs, number one, we cannot close above this bar right here. So let's establish what this is. This is, it appears right here that I have 21.25. That's the last daily down bar. This is Friday's bottom, and we came right in here. Now, if we can stay well below that one there, or even half of this bar right here, that's 22.95. That's right over here under the hood in your MMT market maker platform, which does the work for you. It's not a public platform. It's quite the opposite. So basically, if I set up a base here and I start to go up, then the Nasdaq leadership stocks need to be sold short, because that means if we break higher from this reversal and we start to break higher, the Nasdaq stocks and the leadership are going to go down. That's exactly how it's going to be. If we do gap down all the way back to where the major lower base was, this is where we were very complacent and less fear and really due for that nice correction in 2011. Remember, January, February, March, there are 3 days to Monday, March 28th is in the morning. That end of the first quarterly trade for us here, that's 20, 40, 60 days. Actual trading days. Weekends don't count. Weekends are only good for what we're doing here now and being prepared for that trade management, MMTs. Now, the Nasdaq will go higher and the broader market will, if I'm gapping down here, then that means the Nasdaq stocks are going to pull back to support and break higher, because that means that we have more support level for those stocks at their teeny lines in your SMF market maker platform. Because if we're gapping down here, that means the support levels are going to be strong on those leaderships and they're going to bounce right off of there. So on an intraday level, if a market maker on the floor, you know, they kind of shake the buyer out, bam, but then they're going to walk that dog. So if we can get down in here, gap down in here, and basically if we can get below half of this bar right here, it's 19.74. And it's a daily bar that was created on 1/28/2011. That was that big up bar right here. This is going to be an area that we would like to see that go below that area on this particular bar. This bar right here, which is also 2074, we would like to remain below this bar, going down just like we did here, but we get below this bar right here. Okay, we already know that this major bar at 22.55 that was put in on 3/7 of 2011 is where that major part of that next big bounce that we had in the fear indicator and the Nasdaq was selling off. As long as we remain below this one, that's even nicer. 22.55 here. Okay, this bar will be a factor, and this one is 22.36. This half bar here, this particular half bar here is 22.39. So it's all across right here that we stay well below that, because that means that the bull has a lot less fear And remember, the volatility was picking up in price action when we were going higher. We shot straight up there, and what a big reversal that was. And that's enough to bring that bull back off of that sideline. So you got the end of the quarter possible buying. You've got earnings season coming up. And I sent out all the earnings report to MMTs here just a little while ago. The other thing that you have coming up on April 1st is a major monthly unemployment again. And basically, if that number is going to do well, then the major earnings season is going to be the week after. And then, you know, right around April 11th, it's going to be really hot and popping and after hours trading. But let's talk about this. In order for the Nasdaq stocks to go higher from here, this is going to have to gap down lower. Okay? So in pre-market, in the morning, in the futures market, if we're gapping up in the futures, that's going to gap this down. And we're going to find out and monitor this very carefully, because this was the first one to make the highs in the fear indicator. Then the S&P followed, then the Dow followed. But it was the Nasdaq heavily weighted technology, Nasdaq comp, that led this down with semis and all kinds of stuff that happened within the first 90-day quarter of 2011. So we want to be very clear about that. We would also tell you that if we gap up and we hold a higher support level, then that means that the broader Nasdaq leadership indexes or indices, but particular each name is going to be weak, because that would warrant a short the high of the day. And that as long as this is breaking out, those highs get put in on the open, bam, you're short and say, hey, goodbye later, because we will not continue to go higher if we are not breaking lower here. We don't want to see a consolidation and a break higher, because if we do, then you have to be on the short side of the market. If we, on the other hand, come down here and we stay down here, then equities are going to be climbing higher, and you're going to be buying off that support level and selling those rips off them dips. So basically, we're going to be watching this. We have a lot of catalysts going, just like we did the other indexes. This is the fear indicator, and how they work with the broader markets and broader names and leadership names and everything alike.